Hello, this is Rajiv Nalawadi, and welcome to Life's Magical Journeys YouTube channel. So today we'll be talking about Jeffrey Deaver. Jeffrey Deaver was born in 1950 in Glen Ellen, Illinois, and he's best known for his very high speed octane thrillers that are filled with intricate plots, which have deep research and a psychological depth tied to them. And Deaver's journey as a best-selling novelist is sort of tied to a vast array of experience that gave him kind of that capability or caliber to have all these interesting novels, and it sort of influenced his writing styles and his interests. And basically, during his career, he did not start with writing. He pursued like a degree in journalism from University of Missouri, and then later on went to obtain a law degree. So he has worked as a journalist, attorney, and folk singer before turning into a full-time author. And he is a multifaceted author, right? Like his narratives within the novels are also very multifaceted. So you go from chapter to chapter, so many plot twists, and you will never get to know till the last chapter what happens, and there is a sudden plot twist. So one twist after another. So that's what you'll get with Deaver. So his breakthrough came with the introduction of the Lincoln Rhyme series, and the first one that went on to become a movie as well, The Bone Collector. So it was tied to a lot of the commercial success of Hollywood. The movie had Denzel Washington and Angelina Jolie on the screen, and it became really popular after that. Like essentially his Lincoln Rhyme series, and there is a lot of other standalone novels which Deaver has written. One is the James Bond thriller. I am a fan of James Bond, huge fan of James Bond. So he has written one, and I'll cover that. And there is also the other series beyond Lincoln Rhyme, Catherine Dance, Coulter Shaw, and Ruin. So we'll cover all of these series, not all of the novels, but we'll pick specific ones from each one of the series. So he weaves like a lot of suspense, and there is a lot of technology, legal drama, and meticulous research with forensics that gives him a versatility as an amazing actor, and a lot of awards to go with that, right? Like the Nero Wolf Award and Steel Dagger Award, Short Story Dagger Award, and he has written short stories, and I will cover that in a future recording. But today we'll be covering all the novels that he has written, and I'll keep it sort of a suspense, just like Deaver, as to how many of Jeffrey Deaver's novels I'll be covering today. So let's get started. So I will start off with Carte Blanche. This is a James Bond novel, and a thrilling addition, right, to the Anne Fleming's saga, continuing on that saga of James Bond that was crafted by Ian Fleming. And I have read like almost all of the Ian Fleming during childhood, and basically this did not let me down. Like literally, it's an amazing, thrilling addition to the James Bond series. So here in Deaver's version, James Bond is no longer the Cold War agent. The Cold War is all done and then familiar, which has been sort of familiar to a lot of readers of Ian Fleming, right? And he's a veteran of the war in Afghanistan, and serving still under the British government as part of the Overseas Development Group. and for protecting the rep, he has been given the license, Carte Blanche, which is complete freedom to undertake missions aimed at neutralizing all the threats against United Kingdom security. So Bond is dispatched in this particular novel. He's dispatched to investigate a mysterious figure known as Severin Hayden, uh, a waste management magnet, right? But he has like a sort of a fascination with decay and death, being like a waste management magnet. Bond's mission revolves around stopping the sinister plans of Hydet's Incident 20 that poses grave threat to thousands of lives. So Bond is navigating this treacherous world, uh, and and it's literally good to have Bond hopping from one country to another, right? And he does that in this novel. He goes from Serbia to Dubai to South Africa and ultimately London. So Deaver is masterfully crafting such contemporary issues such as environmental crime and global security into the plot. So that adds the depth and also the urgency that this needs to be resolved quickly, right? And that's what he brings in his novel with 007 James Bond. Um, so the next one that I'm going to talk about is The Bone Collector, the Lincoln Rhyme series. So this went on to become a movie that was starring Denzel Washington and Angelina Jolie. So Lincoln Rhyme is a very interesting character that gets introduced, right? So he is like an ex-head of the NYPD forensics, and he used to be the nation's most most criminalist, forensic, foremost criminalist, essentially. A man who would just arrive on the crime scene and come away with the perfect profile of a killer. But now, Lincoln, with an accident that he had on the job, it has left him quadriplegic, and he can barely move one finger. And he's a great mind, but he's strapped to his bed. So he until basically he sees the crimes until he sees the crime scene report that is presented to him. He is interested in pursuing and being part of this investigation. And it's a report that involves a corpse that is found buried on a deserted west side railroad railway track, and with the hand rising from the dirt. So it's a body that is entirely covered, but there is a hand rising from the dirt. So it's belonged to a man who got into a cab from the airport and never got out. So that's how Deaver writes, and essentially, reluctantly, Lincoln Rhyme abandons his retirement. He is not longing to be even staying alive, but this crime scene report that is presented to him, it kind of brings him back down to track this killer. And this killer is basically behind. He's going to be doing a lot of murders, other murders. So it's basically tied to something to do with the victims as well. The search kind of leads down to the bone collector, and Amelia Sachs is drafted for help on this job, and she has never solved any crime. And she has to be the Lincoln's arms and legs on the field. So he can only whisper in her ears, but she has to do everything and basically anything that he wants done. So that's Bone Collector. Watch the movie or read the novel. Both are amazing, essentially. I would say I would recommend both of them. But read the novel first, I would say. So the other novel is The Sleeping Doll. Uh, oh, this is such a gripping thriller, and it's one of the Catherine Dance series. So Catherine Dance is an expert in kinesics, which is a body language and lie detection at the California Bureau of Investigation. So Daniel Pell, he escapes from a super security prison, and he styles himself as Charlie Manson. Charles Manson that we know of, a serial killer. And Pell is a master of control. He mesmerizes, seduces, and exploits people, and ultimately leading to their death, right? And Catherine and her colleagues must track down Pell before he destroys more lives. So she enlists the help of people from Pell's past, the three women who lived under his sadistic sway in the cult before he was arrested. And then there is also a young girl known as the Sleeping Doll. She is the only survivor out of the entire family slaughter, which Pell did. And it's a very interesting read. uh, Manhattan is My Beat is the next novel that I'll be talking about. So this novel starts off with the Rune series. Essentially, it's a trilogy. So Rune is an young aspiring filmmaker. She is living in New York City, and she has also found a job at a video store that satisfies her passion of watching some old movies, so she can go and become like the filmmaker. So Mr. Kelly is an old man and a customer. Keeps renting repeatedly the same movie, Manhattan is My Beat, and it's a crime thriller. And Rune becomes entangled in all this mystery when she routinely goes to collect the tape from the old man, Mr. Kelly's home, and the old man has died. So police think it's a robbery, but Rune is convinced that the real mystery lies in the tape that Mr. Kelly keeps renting. So the tape contains one of the events in which there is a huge robbery at a movie theater, and Ryun's investigation leads her into dangerous territory, and the characters certainly are not anything that you would want to have entrenched in your lives, right? Or the ones following you. So they don't believe in happy Hollywood endings. So she has to uncover the mystery behind what this entire old man died for, essentially. And there are a cast of characters there. And until you get to the last chapter, you never know what Deaver has in surprise for you. And it's true of all his novels. They are mystery and crime thrillers. There is a plot twist, and then a third plot twist, and so on. It continues. So the Never Game is the Coulter Shaw series, and along with the Lincoln Rhyme, the Rune, Catherine Dance, Coulter Shaw is another series, and the Never Game is one of it. So in this, Coulter Shaw is a reward seeker. He travels the country to help police solve crimes, and also he helps the private citizens locate missing persons. So he learns of a reward for a missing young woman, a college student in Silicon Valley that has gone missing, and he finds himself in Silicon Valley, transports himself to Silicon Valley. So the investigation puts him into the dark heart of Silicon Valley's billion-dollar gaming industry. So then there is a second kidnapping that happens, and that victim also ends up dying. So the clues all point to a video game, the Never Game, in which the player has to survive after being left abandoned, essentially. So then Coulter Shaw has to figure out, does this involve some maniac that is behind all of this and who is trying to bring this game to life? And a lot of diverse books and novels have been converted into movies, right? So it's hard for me to track, and I didn't track that particularly for this making this video. So uh, I'll never be surprised to see a movie and say, "Hey, I have read that. That's Deaver's novel." So. All of his novels, I'll not be surprised, or majority of his novels being converted into fast mystery and crime thriller movies. So The Devil's Teardrop is the next one, and it's one of the standalone novels. So it's New Year's Eve. This is the way Deaver is the setup. Right? It's New Year's Eve, the last day of 1999. It's Washington, D.C. is under siege. And earlier in the day, a grisly machine gun attack in DuPont Circle metro station has left dozens of people dead. And the city is crippled with fear. And it's supposed to be a very festive environment, right? Like being New Year's Eve. But there is a note that is delivered to the mayor's office that pins the massacre to the digger. And it's a robot like assassin programmed to wreak havoc on the capital every 4 hours until midnight. So a ransom of $20 million must be delivered to Digger's accomplice to stop this killing. But the accomplice dies in an accident on the way to the money drop. So Special Agent Margaret Lucas calls on Parker Kincaid, a retired FBI agent, to solve this crime, and they have very little evidence. Right, all they have as evidence is the ransom note as the evidence. So they have to go from that to solve the crime. So the next novel is also a standalone novel, A Maiden's Grave. So this is a very interesting one, and I think this one has been made into a movie. But the movie is not called Maiden's Grave; it's something called Dead Silence or something like that. So there is a school bus that is carrying eight deaf schoolgirls and their teachers, and then the bus happens to break suddenly on a flat Kansas highway. The bus shouldn't have stopped. So there, waiting are the three convicts who have just escaped from prison, each with nothing to lose, right? Like now it's a game that they are going to play. So with the girls as their hostages, the convicts kind of bring in. Bring them to an abandoned slaughterhouse, and this is where Lou Handy, the murderer and the convicts, kind of a ringleader, announces his terms to kill a captive every hour unless his demands are met. So this is like a 12-hour siege that happens. And then basically, this is a war of nerves. So when you're reading, it's like you are literally drawn in, and then you cannot get out from the first chapter itself. Like Deaver captures you by the throat, and you're stuck until the end of the novel. So the FBI's senior hostage negotiator is called in, and they now have to work this out with these convicts. So the next one that I am going to talk about is The Blue Nowhere. And this is also one of the standalone novels. This is about a sadistic hacker. His code name is Fate, and he sets his sights on Silicon Valley. His victims never know what really hit them, right? Like until he goes and his style is infiltrating the computers, evading their lives, and luring them to their deaths. So to Fate, it's sort of like a big game. It's a challenging computer hack every time. Every time he succeeds in one, he challenges himself uh, by kind of like polishing his methodology to a newer and higher level and aiming at bigger targets. So the head of the California State Police Computer Crimes Division, they have to free Wyatt Gillett, and everybody opposes within the division that why is a hacker who is in jail is being uh, let go, and he comes out to aid the investigation amidst like everybody protesting it, right? Like Gillette finally attempts to trace the computer virus back to its source, but then there is a sudden obstacle that happens in that course. So Fate ends up killing the pioneer of the internet himself, like the wizard. So, so now with the wizard, who is the pioneer of the internet himself, being killed, then they will have to go through this investigation, and it's a very interesting read to go through it, especially if you are interested in learning about. If you're into cybersecurity and want to learn more about hacking, this has a lot of details in there. It's hacker terminology that is used all over. So the next one is part of the Lincoln Rhyme series. It's The Cold Moon. So on a freezing December night, with the full moon shimmering in the black skies over New York City, two people are brutally murdered. Their deaths are marked by sort of calling cards. It's like a moon faced clock ticking away. So it sort of points to the victim's last minutes on Earth. So more murders are being planned, right? And this is where Rhyme has only a few hours to stop this icy cold watchmaker, because he's going to follow time, and time is very important for this particular killer, and he operates with the precision of a fine timepiece. And Lincoln and Amelia Sachs are in a race in this cat and mouse game. So they must balance their efforts to catch the watchmaker. And for Amelia Sachs, this is one of the investigations she's leading in a way. So she unearths like shocking revelations from the past that threaten to undermine her very relationship to Lincoln Rhymes, right? And so this is where there is some characters from the other series that get introduced. So Catherine Dance happens to come up on the scene, and the novel progresses. So The Cold Moon is a very good read, and it's about the watchmaker. So The Garden of Beasts is a very interesting standalone novel as well. So the time, this is a period piece, novel essentially. So Paul Schumann, a German American, is sort of a mobster hitman that is living in New York City in 1936, and he's known for taking only righteous jobs, and has brilliant tactics, right? And when a hit goes wrong, he just happens to be nabbed during that time period, and he's offered like sort of a deal to kill Reinhard Ernst, the man behind Hitler's rearmament scheme, and and then he can walk free forever, or otherwise he's anyway going to be ending up on the electric chair and the Sing Sing. So the instant Paul sets foot in Berlin, his mission is not easy. There is a deadly cat and mouse game that occurs, right? And this is how the chapters progress. And the next 48 hours is where the city prepares for the coming Summer Olympics game. Schumann stalks Ernst, and there is also a criminal police officer that of the Third Reich, and all their apparatus is behind him, frantically searching for this American hitman who they also know is on the soil to kill Ernst. So this is a fascinating period detail that involves local characters, Olympic athletes, and senior Nazi officials. Some of them, there are some real names and there are some fictional names that are created as well. Uh, so there is a lot of plot twists in the Garden of the Beasts. So there was another novel I was reminded of during the read of this, and I will cover that in one of the future videos. So that's it for today. And do subscribe to Life's Magical Journeys, the YouTube channel, and also follow on the other socials. Facebook, Instagram has the reels from my travels, and LinkedIn and Facebook also have short stories from my novels as well. So do join and subscribe to all the socials. So that's it for today, and talk to you next time. Thank you.